Alright, hey everybody. Right now we are actually going to work on creating a health for the player character. So let's get started. Go into your content browser and in our widgets folder, we'll create another widget. So user interface, widget blueprint, and we'll call this player underscore health. Save all, double click. Alright, so now what we want to do is add a vertical box, and then let's mess with the alignment here. So we want to keep the anchor up there because I want it in the top corner, but I want it down a little bit. So we'll do -0.5 and -0.5. So that'll bring it down away from the corner there a little bit. And next, let's add a horizontal box. And we'll go to fill. Oh, and also in the vertical box, click size to content. And then we will add a text. And we'll call this HP and then space and then colon. The space just makes it so we could see it a little bit better. And then we want a progress bar in that same horizontal box. And let's call this guy health underscore bar. Let me do that. Compile, save, and we'll actually turn off size to content, and let's scale this out. For some reason, that's going like that. So let's mess with the scale a little bit here. Y is up and down, so let's do like 0.5, 0.2. Yeah, that's alright, I guess. I'm not quite sure why it's... Oh, that's why. Okay, and... let's center that guy as well. And... there. Yeah, that looks good. Let's change the color. Go over here and change it to red. 0. So it's solid red. Okay, compile, save, and health. Let's call this health underscore box. And make sure that's a variable. And also grab your health bar and make sure that's a variable. Okay. So now we'll go to our graph. And we also, first before we do this, need to create some variables in our character. Let's go in here. I actually went ahead and created them. So we'll create two floats, one called health, which you set at 100, and one called max health, which you also set at 100. After you create the variable, hit compile, and it'll actually allow you to change the default value. And then what you want to do is go into Edit, Project Settings, go to Input, Action Mappings, click Add, and then type in the name that you want it. I set mine as damage, and then I set my key as G. You just click this, hit G, and you can scroll down until you find G. And there you are. And then close that out. And then to find it, type in input damage. And it'll give you input action event and then damage right there. And that's what you want. And that's what this guy is. And then you want to set health, not max health, but set health to health minus 15. To get the minus, you just drag off, hit minus, it's right next to the equal sign, and 0, float minus float, and then change it to that. And then another thing you have to do is after event begin play, right after this node here, you want to get player controller, so get player controller, and then drag off and type in enable input. And then you want to take return value and plug it into player controller. It'll be in target. You gotta hold Alt and click to break it, and then plug it into player controller, and then plug this into right there. Okay, so now that we have all that, compile, go back into player health, and on event construct, we want to cast to 2D side scroller character. And then this, I believe, is get player pawn. I think, let's compile. It looks like it. And then what we want to do is get health, get max health, and you have to drag off the cast in order to get these, or else it will not show up. And then you want to grab your health bar, get, then set %. Okay, plug that into event tick, and then off health, drag off, divide, float by float, plug the max health into the bottom one, and then plug the in % into there. Okay, now on these two variables, you have to make sure that both of them are set to 100 health as well as your max health, or else this will not work properly. So yeah, you want to divide these two together and do set %. The reason we're dividing this is because, okay, so 100 divided by 100 is 1. That means a full health bar. Because if we look at the actual health bar itself, the % here, 1 is all the way full and 0 is empty. So if we think about the math behind that, we need whole numbers 100 and 90 to equal between 0 and 1. So the best way to do that is always divide by 100, and you'll be able to get that. So 90 health would be 0.9 in float value. So we can drop that in the in %. Okay. So yeah, let's try it and see. Oh, nothing. Why is that? Because we have not actually added it to the viewport. So let's do that. We'll go into level blueprint. And I'm actually going to create this before our main widget. And I'll tell you why in a minute, but go ahead and do that. We'll drag off here, create widget, select class, and we want it as player health. And then don't forget, we also drag off here, add to viewport. And then plug this guy in there and this guy in there. Okay. So now this should work, right? Okay, hit play. And look at that, it does work. It actually worked where it was not supposed to. So I must have forgotten to delete something. So let's go into our main widget. It's actually very interesting that it worked like that, because technically it was not supposed to. Why did it? Let's try it again. Interesting. Yeah. That is very interesting. I'm sorry, I just gotta figure out what I did and why that worked. Because it shouldn't have. Okay. 2, 1, 0. Okay, so an issue that we've run into, what I should have ran into rather, is this being up on screen all the time. I'm not quite sure why it is working properly, because it shouldn't be. This should be up on the screen at all times because we haven't actually set it to be otherwise. So a way to fix that, if you're having that issue, of course, is go to your main widget graph, and we want the visibility to be set when we click the play button. We want it to appear. So we'll create a variable, name it player health underscore W for widget. Make it public, and then under variable type, we want to actually make this the player health reference. And compile that. And we want to expose on spawn. Compile it again. Okay. So, and then drag off, get, drag off again, get player health, and health box. And let me make sure that's the right one. Okay, health box is the entire thing, so this is the one we want. Health box is the first vertical box that I added to the canvas. Okay, so we do that. Set visibility. And we want it to be set at visible here. So compile, save. We're not done yet. Go over to the level blueprint. And this is why I wanted the player health first, because we actually have to set that variable. So just drag the return value off your player health create widget node and plug it in to the main widget node. Compile. And then last but not least, you grab your health box, and by default, you want to set it at hidden. So compile, play, we'll click play, and there it is. I know it did show up before, it wasn't supposed to, but it's working now, so that's no problem. Okay, now, actually, let's do some sort of death. So the character actually dies when those reach 0. So we'll go into the character here, and we'll do it off of this, just because, actually no, I'll do it off of event tick. Okay, we already have one. So what we want to do is drag off sequence, and actually I want to hold, if you hold control, you can drag a pin and drag it to another area, because I want the top pin so I can go up here with it. So we'll type in branch, and basically what we want to check for is if health, get, is less than or equal to 0. So once player's health is less than or equal to 0, we want to true destroy actor, and we'll have it as self. Compile, save, play, G, and then the player gets destroyed. Sounds good to me. And warnings, don't worry about these. We will look into this after. Actually, you know what? Instead of destroy actor, let's do we'll make another widget. Let's do this instead. So that way we don't get those errors, so we don't have to deal with that. And we'll actually make another one. So let's go ahead and do that. I know it's an error, that's okay. So save all, save, and we'll create a user interface. And actually, let's go back into the character for a moment. And let's make a variable, and this will be of type boolean. Let's name it is dead. Make it public and compile. Bring it out here and set. If true, we'll set it to true. And just for funsies, we'll set that to false, just in case. Okay, so with that set up, do I want to do it like that? Yeah, we'll do it like that. That's okay. And actually, let's get rid of this. And main widget. And on event tick, we'll do a branch. And am I casting to the player at all? No, I'm not. Okay, so let's go ahead and cast to the player. So cast to the side scroller character. I think it might be controller. We'll just see. See if it recognizes it. No, not controller. Come on, delete. Thank you. Get player character. Compile. And it's player character. Alright. So this is good. So on event construct, when it's built, we're casting to player. So if I get is dead, and we can bring it over here. I do this so on event tick, it's not continuously setting continuously casting to it. This only does the cast once, and then it stores this variable so we can use this variable. And then with that set up, let's go over to the designer, and we'll go ahead and hide those two, and we'll keep this one up. Actually, for now, that's a variable. Okay. So first, let's do a vertical box in the canvas panel, and we'll name this game over. Oh, I have a space. Game underscore over. And set that as a variable. By default, set the visibility as hidden. Okay. So now, all I really want in this guy is a horizontal box. Let's make the anchor in the center. Get rid of these. Do the alignment 0.5 and 0.5 again, so it's right in the middle. Horizontal box. Text. Blam. Jack it up to like 110. Game over. And let's do that. Compile, save. So now we have a game over text. And let's do it one step at a time. Let's make sure this is working before we actually add a button to exit or restart. We can do as well. Okay, so game over. So we'll go back into the graph. Grab our game over kit and set visibility to visible. But I don't want it to set it right away because we'll want some sort of animation, I think. After a while, so what we can do is just put a delay in here for now. So after the player dies, there's a short delay before this actually comes up. And I also want the background to come up as well. So get, I'm just going to copy this one, Control W. Said Control W, thank you. Bam, and bam. Compile, save, and let's see if this works. Play. Game over. And the background came up as well as that. Cool. So now let's create a button to actually go back to main menu or to restart the game, which should be pretty easy. Okay, so go back to designer. Let's add another horizontal box inside the game over one. This horizontal box will contain button. And let's do an overlay on that button. And do a text on that overlay. And let's do restart. Let's make the text on that 69 like the others. And we'll call this button restart btn. Make sure is variable is checked. And let's do the same thing again. So grab our horizontal box, drop that inside game over. Then we want the same thing again. But actually no, let's not do, let's do it in the same one. What am I doing? I want another button in the same one. And this button will be called quit. Or no, we'll do exit. We already have an exit button, so let's just do exit btn, ext btn. No, game over btn. There. That way we know exactly what one it is. We'll go to fill and actually go into the restart button as well and go to fill. Let's add our overlay, then our text, and exit. And we'll do 69 again. And that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and get these guys going. Make sure this is both the buttons are variables. And go in here. So we want our restart button unclicked. And then this is going to be a little tricky. If you're going to have saving and everything set up in your level, you'll have to create a variable and set that variable to wherever it was saved. But in this case, we're just going to be reloading this 2D side scroller example map. So we got to type that in. 2D side scroller example map. And this is just to reload the level. And it has to be the exact same thing. So if you want to, you can drag this guy down, go into your content browser, maps, and then actually copy this. And then go back in and paste it. Oh, well, paste it just to make sure, but for some reason that actually pasted the destination folder, which was strange. Okay, and the game over button. Click that, unclicked. Go to quit game. Compile, save, and let's test it out. Play. Keep hitting G. Dies. Restart. And it restarts at the beginning. Right here. So, like I said, if you create checkpoints, you would load those checkpoints in, right here as a level, setting your variables and things like that. Okay, so that's looking pretty good so far. I'm liking it. To stay organized, what you can do is separate this stuff a little bit. So bring this up, and this guy is the game over and dead. So game over is dead. True. Yeah. And just, go down the line if you want to. Just highlight everything that you want and, move it into some open space. And everything that you want inside highlighted, hit C, and then it'll create this comment box. So then you can type in play button. Keeps it very, well and organized. Hit button. Instructions button. And this one is return button. Restart button. Again, it's a little organized. And game over button. And yeah, that cleans it up a little bit, shows you what it's doing. And let's go over to player health, event graph. And we're going to do this kind of strangely. I'm going to bring the event construct up here and do cast to player. And that down here, tick health value. Compile, save. And this is just a constant check. It yields smoother results, I've found, as far as the actual gameplay, like watching the bar. If you're quickly gaining and losing health in small values, this method really works really well. The proper way to do something like this in a less intensive method would be creating an actual event and call that event every time the health changes, and then come in here and do it in here, which is actually not a bad idea. So I think I am going to do that. But we will actually do that in the next video, because this video is kind of getting long. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.